What's up, YouTube? All right, this is day 2. We're back in the garage trying to work on the Civic and everything like that. So yesterday, well, last night, well, actually this morning, so when we left, we have the engine out of the vehicle. So that is a plus. I was thinking about power washing the engine bay. I'm not sure if I'm really going to go ahead and do that. It's kind of looking really nasty outside, and I've already lost power like 2 or 3 times. So I don't know if I'm going to do that yet. I haven't decided, but I'm going to think about it. But we have the new engine right here. Pretty much the wiring harness is off of it, and it's ready for the harness and everything off of that engine to get put back on. So I'm basically going to go ahead and get set up to transfer the harness from the bad engine and put it on the good engine and get this one ready to go back in. So yeah, I'll bring you back when I get everything set up and everything. Alright, so we got the wiring harness all off and everything ready to go onto the new motor. Now I just need to get some things off. I may need to switch the intake manifold. I haven't decided yet, so I'm going to look at that. Either way, the injectors are different, so I'd have to switch the fuel rail. I don't have a new intake manifold gasket, so I really don't want to have to pull that yet, but I may have to. We'll see. What is up, YouTube? Alright, day 3 on the Honda build here, or the Honda engine swap, or the Honda Project Slow piece back together and get running project, whatever. Either way. Alright, so yesterday I didn't get a lot of work done. We had storms. I kept losing power on and off and stuff, and I just kind of worked for a couple hours, got to a stopping point because basically, let me give you an update. So here's the old engine right here. No intake manifold and stuff. Here's the new engine. No intake manifold and stuff. Alright, so I'm using the OBD2A harness here. I'm going to be using OBD1 ECU, so I'll use a jumper harness and a jumper harness on the distributor. But due to the way the fuel rail is with evap and all the emissions crap, it was just going to be simpler to change out the Z6 intake with the Y8 intake. So I needed an intake manifold gasket. So I could have went to the parts store and got one yesterday and continue working, but I basically decided to go to dinner with the family and just relax and take a break and stuff like that. So starting this morning, I ran some errands. I went and got an intake manifold gasket. So we're gonna go ahead and I got the head all cleaned up here for the intake manifold. So we're gonna go ahead and put the intake manifold back on. Yeah, I changed out the breather box. I did the little delete, putting the Y8 intake on, and putting on the OBD2 harness. So we're just gonna try to get all this wrapped up, and if we come across any other issues, then we'll address them. But yeah, we're just plugging away, trying to get this engine ready to go back in the car. I'd like to get it in today, but we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm gonna get to work.
I will say, I really hate this valve cover, and I need to paint it. It is ugly. I want to paint this too, but I don't really feel like taking that all off with the thermostat and everything like that. But we're going to do something about this probably once I get this in the car and running.
Alright, so now we got the intake manifold on and everything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all the bolts and start plugging away at the harness and everything like that. So because the lighting and stuff is not very good and everything like that, I'm really not going to record, and plus it's kind of boring and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll just bring you guys back when I make some progress. Alright guys, so I made some progress, so here we are. This is where we're at right now. Here's the engine. Alright, so we got the wiring harness, we got the intake manifold, we got everything on there pretty much. So now we are getting ready to pretty much move it around to get it on the hoist and drop it in. Now I did just decided to, after I hooked everything up, I was like, you know what, let me verify a few things. So this is a Z6 engine. It's meant to be out of an EX. Well, apparently it has a DX transmission. I didn't even think about it, but I was just like, oh, it's already got a transmission on it. We're just going to pull it out, put it in, and be done with it. Well, then I went and decided to check. It is a DX transmission, which is fine because I have an EX transmission there. I have an EX transmission there. I have an EX transmission over there. I'm not really hurting for EX transmissions, but this is an EX, so I was like kind of just slightly bummed for a second. Like, darn, it's an EX. I'm putting a DX transmission in it. It's longer gears and stuff. But you know what? This is just a temporary thing. This is just to get the car drivable, so I really don't care. It's going to be slow. It's just a D series, and until I boost it and everything, it won't really matter. And to be honest, a D series or a DX transmission's really good for boost, so I may keep it. Who knows? But either way, we're going to get ready to get this engine in there because I'm just over this. I'm so close. We shouldn't have more than a couple hours, so I'm just going to try to get it done. All right, guys, let's get this sucker in here. All right, it's now in the engine bay, so I got to get a mount attached and everything like that, and we'll have this thing sitting in the engine bay. So I'm just going to tighten up that passenger mount and everything like that, and the motor is actually in the engine bay. So that is a great success for me and everything like that. Now it's just plugging along. I'm going to have to get underneath the car and everything like that. So I will be back when I make some more progress. Stay tuned. Alright guys, we're back. Another day, another start on this project and everything like that. Sorry I've been so lazy with the filming. I've really been just trying to knock this out and get this done. I've been running into so many problems and roadblocks and speed bumps and whatnot that is really just taking longer than expected. So today is Monday. I started this Friday night and I only put a few hours in yesterday and a couple hours the day before. And I should have been done already, but because I'm putting a OBD1 engine in an OBD2 car, excuse me, I'm just running into a few issues. So after I got the intake manifold swapped and everything like that, I got the engine in. Boom, the engine's in. The engine is wired and everything like that. Pretty much it's buttoned up. All I got to do is throw the axles in, put the hubs and stuff back together, because just put tie rods and the axles in. Put the intake tube and air box in and stuff like that. And everything, but I ran into an issue with the heater core hoses. I had to actually take the thermostat housing and coolant tube out and put the OBD2 one in for it to work with the hoses, or I would have had to go buy a new hose. So that slowed me down for a while, and right now I'm running into an issue trying to find the parts that the previous owner had took off, because they had done something. They had torn this engine apart before I got it. So I'm trying to find the bolts for the power steering. So I found these bolts in the car. I found these bolts here, and they're too long and don't go to the power steering. So I'm just having horrible luck, and it's really taking me a while to track down and find all the little bolts and knickknacks and stuff like that I need to get things working. As it is, I mean, I can leave the power steering not working and not bolted up and stuff. The car, you know, and the car will run and drive and stuff. But I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit, because if this engine does run and everything's good with it, then the car will be drivable, and I'm going to teach my wife how to drive a stick in it and everything like that. So power steering is a plus. Makes life easier. Makes my day easier. And, I mean, it's there. Why not get it working? So, that's where I'm at. I have a small idea, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. 4 bolts right there. I have a feeling that when they took this engine apart, they mixed up the bolts that go to the power steering, because there's 3 for the power steering, with the bolts that go to the bracket for the AC. Because when I put that on, I only could find 3 bolts. And these bolts were in the trunk of the car. So these weren't, I didn't take them off the engine when I took the engine out. So I'm thinking what happened is they grabbed the wrong bolts when they put the AC bracket back on and accidentally swapped the AC bracket bolts with the power steering bolts. And that's why I'm missing one for the AC bracket, and why I have an extra one for what I thought was power steering bracket bolts or something along that lines. So sadly, I might have to go ahead and pull the AC back off, pull the bracket back off, and see if those bolts will work for the power steering. Alright guys, so if you may remember from the G35 video where we did the coilovers and everything like that, I had mentioned that some suspension bolts have to be tightened with the weight of the vehicle. Well, actually, it has to be tightened with the suspension at rest as if the car is sitting on the ground. Now, I can't really do that because I don't have a drive-on lift, so I showed you a trick where you use a jack to jack up the suspension until it's off of the jack stand. As you can see, hopefully you can see that, there's nothing on the jack stand. And that basically compresses everything and puts it to its neutral location as if the wheel was on it and it was on the ground. And that allows you to then tighten up the suspension components and load the bushings with basically no stress on the bushing at ride height. And that's very important because if you don't, let's say you have it full drooped and you tighten it, then when it compresses to natural neutral height, as in just sitting on the ground, it's going to twist the bushing and preload it, and then as the suspension compresses, then it's going to, and what it'll do is wear out your bushings faster. So you want to at least do something like this. So this is what I do. I jack up the suspension till it's at off the jack stand, and that compresses this corner like it's sitting on the ground, and then I tighten the bolts. So now all that's left is to tighten the axle nut. You want to torque that because that puts preload on the bearing for your wheel bearing, and if you don't torque that to spec, you can wear your wheel bearing out prematurely. So think of it as a bunch of balls in between two races. So there's like grooves cut for these balls. As you tighten it, it squishes against those balls tighter. You make it too tight, there's not enough clearance that wears the balls out, which then wears the bearing out or wears the races out. You make it too loose and everything can kind of move around, it does the same thing. It flat spots and wears the balls irregularly in the grooves or races irregularly and wears your wheel bearings out quicker. So I always make sure there's certain things I always torque. Wheel bearings are one of them and everything like that. Normally I would torque all the suspension components, but I'm just hitting them with the impact gun because I'm just trying to get this done and they'll be fine. All these parts are going to get replaced eventually anyways when I go through and overhaul the suspension on this car. Right now it's just getting it back together. Alright guys, we can get back to work. Alright guys, so the moment of truth. I have done everything I can and I pushed it outside because it has no exhaust and everything, and now we are going to see if it starts. So be prepared, it's going to be very loud. There's just an open header. Oh yes, hopefully you can hear me. It started, it's running, it's not knocking. I'm extremely happy, mission successful. So now I'm gonna burp the coolant, let it run for a minute, make sure there's no leaks, no oil, no coolant, no nothing like that. It doesn't appear to be smoking. So I'm just gonna let it run for a while, warm up and stuff like that, and then check everything out, and you know, we should pretty much call this one good. So I'm gonna close out the video here. I know it wasn't really like a DIY how to do or anything like that. It was just me working on a car. But it needed to get done. It got done. Took an extra day or two, but either way, it is what it is. Got it done. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. And stay tuned for further content. Alright guys, later.